Welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Now, what I've got for you today is a Protoss versus Zerg. It's a best-of-7 series, and this particular best-of-7 is the grand finals of a premier tournament that just wrapped up last Sunday. So I just looked up the full title of the event, okay? So it's called the Dreamhack StarCraft 2 Masters 2021 Fall Season Finals. Not only is that title of a tournament ridiculously long, but my favorite word in that title is fall, because this event has taken place over the course of like June, July, August, and then the finals were in September. Anyways, it doesn't matter all too much. So spotting here in the top right-hand corner of Jagannatha, that's going to be map number 1 in today's best-of-7 series. Playing with the blue Protoss probes, we have Trap. His opponent, in the opposite corner, playing with the red Zerg drones from Finland, we're looking at Serral's main hatchery. Alrighty, so Serral versus Trap. Now, full transparency, I have already seen these games. I mean, besides casting and playing this game a ton, I also, enjoy watching it a lot. I'm a huge fan of both of these players, so I couldn't resist watching this particular series live. But it doesn't really matter all too much, right? Because I mean, it is a Protoss versus Zerg. It is a relatively predictable matchup as it is. Generally speaking, the build orders, especially from someone like, Trap, or for example, someone like Serral. I mean, Serral plays always very reactively, but these guys, they play as stock standard as it comes. They're just very good at making more stuff than the opponent most of the time. So, Serral's results over the last 10 months, okay? He got second place at the TSL 6. He got second place at Dreamhack Last Chance. And that's really about it. Serral, while winning practically everything in 2018 and still holding the number 1 position for the majority of the year on Aligulek, he's not been having the best results recently. Now, if you compare that to Trap, Trap is without the shadow of a doubt the best Protoss player in the world and definitely the most successful tournament player of the year. Okay, so in the last 10 months, he won the GSL Super Tournament number 2 2020, Dreamhack Masters Last Chance 2021, which is that same tournament I just mentioned where he beat Serral in the grand finals. He won the GSL Super Tournament number 1 2021. He made it to the semifinals of the GSL Code S Season 1. He won the GSL Super Tournament 2 2021. He won a next StarCraft 2 Masters. He won the Team Liquid Star League number 7. He got second place at the GSL Code S number 2, so Season 2. And all of those games, they're played against guys like, for example, Stats, and like I said, Serral, and Zaun, and Raynor, and Dark, and Maru. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is that Dark has been absolutely smashing the competition left, right, and center. Once upon a time, his Protoss versus Zerg wasn't the greatest, but these days, the man is legendary. He's looked very, very good. Now, this is a big event, right? So like I said, it's taken place over the course of a very long time. So, in case you're unfamiliar, and by the way, it's going to be that Stargate opener, which really isn't all too unexpected. Serral is going to scout around. He's looking right now for the second pylon. Usually it's going to... Okay, now he's seen the Stargate, so he knows exactly what he's going up against. Probably wants to get this Overlord to safety, but I've got a feeling that... yeah, that Void Ray is quite a bit faster, right? It'll probably find it. So anyways, for this particular event, the way it works is that there are regional events that basically qualify you for the season finals. So this is really a big one, right? So there's a European finals, or a European tournament, rather. He's even checking right here at the Adept. There is a North American version, Latin American version, China, Korea, Asia, and Oceania. So basically, this is like... That's why the tournament takes like 3 months. There's different tournaments being played all around the world, and then everyone seeds themselves, or the people that like do very well in that tournament, they seed themselves into the season finals. And then all of that comes down to this. So it's a big one. I think it was like $50,000 on the line in total for the season finals. Something like that. Anyways. Looks like we have a pretty speedy third Nexus right here from the Protoss player. It is going to be that Oracle follow-up. So one thing I've noticed is that Trap is actually not too fond, it seems, of playing heavy Stargate. I mean, he will obviously bring it out because late-game Protoss is just simply based around the Stargate units. And it is going to be a second Stargate as well for this particular game. But generally speaking, Trap... He likes playing ground-based armies quite a bit, which is kind of funny because since he has been so successful over the last year, and since he's like one of the few Protoss players that... Ooh, not even a drone. Not even a drone. Okay. Since he's like the most successful Protoss player without a shadow of a doubt, and he hasn't really been playing that much SkyTools, it's kind of funny because most of the time, other players tend to copy what the best guys are doing. Either way, it is going to be another Void Ray as a follow-up. So, I actually expected... I don't remember the exact games. I was watching this, pretty late at night. It was Void Ray into Oracle, and then back towards a Void Ray, as well as a second Stargate. So that's actually a little bit uncommon. We do have a Zergling out here, and I wouldn't be surprised if Serral hasn't already checked for him to go ahead and check the... yeah, he's going to check for it right now. The Cybercore? No, you can't find it. Anyways, if you see the Cybercore spinning, you know that the Warp Gate upgrade is done. You know that it has to be Skytles upgrades. So that's one way of figuring out exactly what the follow-up is going to be. Serral, by the way, also not very fond of going for Queen Walks. He will bring them out from time to time. But Serral is one of the few players that seems to be completely comfortable playing the late game against Protoss. So it's an interesting dynamic. We have a Protoss player who doesn't really play super heavy Skytles most of the time against a Zerg player who really doesn't mind playing against heavy Skytles most of the time. So it's like a weird contrast between most of the games that I've casted really over like the last year or so. So Twilight Council as a follow-up right now. How many Void Rays did we make? 3 Void Rays? 4th Void Ray coming up right now. There is the +1 flyer upgrade, but I would almost say that that second Stargate is, I guess, a fake out? Serral started up the +1 melee right there for just a second, but he is transitioning right now into the missile upgrade as well. And he adds on a Spire. Now, this will be a small spoiler alert. This will be something he does in this series that I do want to talk about a little bit. So, Hydralisks are the most common unit for players to make when it comes to anti-air. The problem with Hydras is that they're not very good until you finish both of the upgrades. And even then, they kind of die to like everything that isn't the Skytles unit. So like they die to Zealots, Sonic Storm, Disruptors. They die to loads of stuff, right? They're basically a... it's going to be a very heavy gateway explosion right now here for Trap. So 9 gateways get added on top of the 2 that were already finished. He's going to go for the charge upgrade too. He's going to be able to pump out a ton of units if he wants to. Serral here though, meticulously checking the 4th base locations constantly. Looks like there was a revelation here inside of the main base, and it spots the timing right there of the infestation pit. But other than that, Serral, yeah, he recognizes at this point, it seems, that the Nexus is not at the appropriate time. Scouts right here at the front as well, sees that there's no upgrade coming up. Looks for the High Templar, maybe? Did he see the High Templar? I don't think he saw those glowy capes right there in the back. Either way, Serral right now is sitting at 78 workers, but he's been making units here for a little while already. 8 Mutas. Okay, it's going to be 9 Mutas right here in this particular situation. So, Mutas are really not a good unit when it comes to fighting other air units, okay? Mutas, like, that's, I think, the most commonly made mistake when it comes to Mutas. They're harassment units. Unless you have, like, I don't know, 30 of them, you really don't want to be fighting any of those Protoss units head on, unless you can, like, you know, ensure that they don't shoot up. Anyways, here's that 10 gateway explosion push right here from Trap. He's got a lot of money in the bank, so he definitely does need some additional reinforcements here. That warp in is a little bit later than you want it to be. Mutas right now going after what seems to be the Prism, but this push just made Trap look like an absolute fool. Serral shuts it down. He's like, yeah, you have money in the bank. You try to go deep onto the creep. You don't spend a little bit of time cleaning it up. I've been preparing for you, buddy. See how you feel about all those units. Guess where the Mutas are, though. The Mutas, of course, like I was trying to point out, they're harassment tools. They will go across the map now. Obviously, though, we're already 2 Stargates done, so Trap can start up the counter to those Mutas quite effectively. But obviously, this does soak up a little bit of production time as well in those Stargates if you wanted to make, say, for example, Void Rays against the Roaches. 4th Nexus did finish up, but Trap doesn't really have the ground army to push back these Zerg units. So while the Mutas here seem to be primarily cannon fodder, they have also killed a Prism, as well as... I think they killed the Prism anyway. No, Prism is actually still out. Maybe it's a new one. No, I think it's the first one. Anyways, they've mostly just been here to buy a lot of time for the Zerg ground army to make its way over here. And here comes the Queens. Disruptor, though, Purification Nova. Okay, it will actually get killed right there before the Purification Nova can explode. Corrosive Balls right there as well. Force that Protoss player to back off. And at this point, just 9 minutes into the game, Serral is pretty much doubling his opponent's supply. And unless there's going to be a massive Disruptor hit, even then, I'm not 100% sure what our Protoss player can go ahead and do against this big of a Zerg army. Keep in mind that on the back of this, Serral still has 4 base eco, so he's been happily sitting at, like, this is not, you know, your 40 or 50 drone all-in that we see all the time with a Queen March. This is full Zerg economy. Hive is coming up. Baneling transition is already in the works. +2 missile is coming up. Serral is getting everything. And while Yeah, Trep is still in the game. I was gonna say, I think he's pretty much just processing the loss. Okay, so game number 2 takes us to Blackburn. Pretty much a flawless game number 1 right there for Serral. In case you're unfamiliar, Serral's best matchup has pretty much always been Zerg versus Protoss. He's got something like 90% plus win rate in this matchup, which is just insane. What's funny is that most of the other top-level Zergs don't have stats nearly as good as that. Serral may very well actually be the main reason, I think he is, why the Baneling ended up getting nerfed against Protoss twice over the last couple of years and why Protoss received a couple of late-game buffs in general, because Serral was just winning against all of them and he made them look like fools. So mainly the reason why Serral has been struggling a little bit in tournaments is probably because of both Clem and Raynor. So especially Clem. I mean, Terran versus Zerg, it's just insane. Like, the way that Clem is playing Terran versus Zerg is just ridiculous. He looks like he is on another level. Probe this time around is going to check the third base, so Serral will be able to grab the natural instead. I kind of like it. Actually, now hiding the drone as well to maybe make Trep freak out just a little bit. I mean, it's unlikely that Serral is going to go for a proxy hatchery on the other side of the map, but... Anyways, so what exactly makes Serral's Zerg versus Protoss so good? I think it is because of his meticulous scouting. So you'll be able to notice that, I'm sure, throughout this series, and you saw it already on Jagannatha. There's always Zerglings running around, and with very little amounts of information, he seems to be able to pinpoint exactly what the opponent is going for. So, I don't mean this in a bad way or like in a mean way, but Protoss versus Zerg from the Protoss' perspective is oftentimes very much so about going for like a trick, right? Where you try to like outsmart your opponent and you try to like catch them off guard. So for example, in that previous game, we had the Protoss player going for double Stargate opener, right? He showed his opponent that he was going for Cybernetics core upgrades. He went for like a 4th Nexus as well, but the Nexus was kind of late. And then he tried to catch his opponent off guard with like 10 gateways, right? That's kind of what ended up happening there. And Serral apparently picked up on it somewhere that it wasn't quite right. Very familiar with that build, apparently, even though it's something that I haven't seen that much. He looked at the Skytools upgrades, saw that +1 flyer upgrades were done, and I guess he saw that there was no +2 started up right away. And he maybe saw the timing right there of the 4th Nexus as a little bit too late, and he's like, you know what? If those two things happens, right? Or if those two things happen at the same time in one game against someone of the caliber of Trap, he must be trying to trick me with a bunch of gateways. And that's basically exactly what ended up happening there. Anyways, kind of made Trap look like a bit of a fool there. What will we have right here in game number 2? So it's going to be another Stargate opener, unsurprisingly. Stargate openers in general, just the best. I actually think Jagannatha is probably one of the worst Stargate openers. So if you're going to open up Stargate, or one of the worst Stargate maps rather, we see a lot of Twilight in that. But generally speaking, yeah, Skytools openers are just the preferred way of starting off in this matchup. So you can go into the Twilight Council and you can go into the Robo facility as well. But the nice thing about a Stargate opener is that it doesn't really put you on a timing attack. So you can kind of just play the game as you would like to. You don't really need to deal that much damage. But you can also go for a 3rd Nexus really early on. Whereas with, say for example, a Robo opener or a Twilight Council, not only will your 3rd base be later, you kind of have to deal some sort of damage on the other side of the map. So while you can definitely transition into Twilight or Robo after the Stargate opener, I do think it's best to go for, you know, the Stargate right from the get-go. What is with this wall, by the way? Ugh. Trap may be a little bit out of it over here, though. Because that wall is, yeah, that's not what you're looking for. Not really something that I see... Oh my god, okay. Not really something that I see Serral punishing. Is he going to be able to grab the probe? No, he will not. Not really something that Serral can easily punish here, but if I were to see this right now, I'm instantly thinking Baneling Nest, right? Baneling Nest, just bust the wall down. Takes way less Banelings to go through a pylon than it takes through a gateway. I mean, Serral doesn't really play that way, but... I mean, it goes through my mind right away, I can tell you that much. Alright. So once again, 0 worker kills here for this little Oracle. 2nd Oracle comes up right now as well. But you go for 2 Oracles, you really do want to kill at least like, I want to say like 5 or 6 workers or so, and then keep those units alive as well. If you lose them for free, it really sucks. Roachborn comes up, Lair comes up as well. He wanted to get the Queen over in the natural as well. You see what I mean? Like, that queen positioning there was really good. Anyways, couple of adepts. Now, this is nice. Okay, hello. Serral a little bit late right there on the response. Maybe now the oracles can get something done as well. I'm not sure. 2 drones end up going down so far. Starts target firing down a couple more. Okay. 5 drones here in total. Maybe he can get a 6th. Yeah, he will get a 6th. Even though that was a very slow response there in Serral's, or for Serral's standards, I suppose. 6 workers for 4 adepts. I guess he lost a bunch of Zerglings too, but I mean, that was decent. More than I thought he was gonna get, I suppose, but not the end of the world at all. Like, when I say I would like to see 6 worker kills with the oracles, it's, you know, the oracles getting the kills, but then also going back home, so you can use revelation and all that a little bit later on. Oh, there's a hole in the wall! There's a hole in the wall! Now the Zerglings will be able to get into the main base. And this is a disaster. Like, these mistakes with the wall off right there at the front, they should not be happening at this level. Not only does, you know, Trap get forced right here to pull the workers away towards the natural expansion, he's forced to bring the oracles back home. He's also completely scouted right now. Okay, Serral not really getting that many worker kills. Only grabbing a single one, it seems, but just running the oracles around to, I guess, waste as much energy as possible. I guess he's fine losing those Zerglings for free. Well, I guess, you know, quote-unquote free. It's gonna be that Twilight Council follow-up. Interestingly enough, it will be Blink. So the first upgrade coming out of the Twilight Council is gonna be Blink. That is not something we see most of the time. Stalkers are pretty good against roaches, but once again, this feels to me like Trap trying to outsmart his opponent. There's the Spire once again coming up. And there's also a Baling Nest. Where's the Baling Nest? Oh, it's over there. 4th hatchery acquired already. So that's going to be at the Golden Base. Protoss does obviously have 3 base saturation already done though, which is really nice. But I'm not 100% sure about... Stalker-based openers. So Stalkers are pretty good against Roach Ravager. Like, pretty good. Not amazing, but pretty good. They really do suck against Zergling-based armies, though, right? So, like, yeah, Blink is nice and all. But especially if Zerg decides to go for +1 melee, the Zerglings will just absolutely tear through pretty much everything that this Protoss player has. Alright. Second robotics facility here coming up, as well as the Robo Bay. So Trap is going to be able to go for the transition. Okay, he starts up a Colossus. With the Robo Bay, you can go either into Colossus or Disruptors. Most of the time, whenever Zerg players scout that it's a Robo Bay, they will tech up as quickly as they can towards Vipers. So they'll go Infestation Pit and then straight into a Hive. Vipers are very helpful because, you know, abducting either Colossi or, for example, Disruptors is a great idea. Double Colossi here, as well as the extended thermal lens. So that's going to give these Colossi a couple additional range points, which helps out especially against those Ling Bane-based armies. So there we go. Serral, despite being the main reason I think why Balings got nerfed, still decides to add them into the mix. He's got quite a lot of army right now as well, though. So he's at, well, 67 army, or 66 army supply only. Battery overcharge is going to be very important here. He needs to pop those force fields without popping his own Banelings, I suppose. Okay. Here come the Banelings, though. They're rolling forward. Is he just gonna go straight through the Acidic defense? He will. One of the Colossi pops out of the robotics facility and does get sniped pretty much right away. Second Colossus also in a lot of trouble. 6 probes end up going down here. As long as the Nexus lives, this might be okay. Here come Brenda, Karen, and Margaret. Apparently taking their hatcheries as well. You know, completely, or rather completely abandoning their hatcheries on the other side of the map. Zerglings just keep flooding forward. Third Nexus gets picked off here. Trap decided to go for a charge, or sorry, not for a charge opener, for a blink opener. He didn't go glaives. He didn't go charge. He decided to, yeah, go for blink. And Serral's like, you know what? You spent time, first off, not making a correct wall. Me allowing, you know, allowing my Zerglings to get into your base, and then you decide to go blink. Let me show you what happens when you go for the blink upgrade, as well as allow Zerglings into your base, as well as deal no damage at all on my side of the map, other than, you know, by losing 4 adepts. At this point, we're talking once again 4 base Zerg. So the gold base right now is mining. We're talking 4 base Zerg. And, yeah, 2 base Protoss. Now, obviously, you can go for some killer pushes with 2 base Protoss. But Serral is just sending roach after roach after roach to the other side of the map. Now, it might not be a terrible idea to maybe regroup for a second. I guess battery overcharge, though, is going to run out eventually. You know, he's trying to just brute force his way up this ramp. A couple of probes are being killed here as well in the process. GG is cold. Serral wins game number 2. Okay, so next up is a light shade. Trap, I think it's about time we stop trying to trick our opponent. Because it seems to me that tricking Serral is just not a great idea. In a way, it almost feels like the tables have been turned a little bit. So most of the time in this matchup, like I was trying to say earlier, it's the Zerg player who's desperately trying to prevent the game from going the distance. They really don't want to play late game. But it almost feels in this series so far that Trap is feeling forced to, you know, prevent the game from going the distance. Because he doesn't feel comfortable playing late game against Serral. I don't know, I'm just guessing here. But the strategies that he's been going for so far, I mean, they've not been working against Serral. While they will work against, you know, other top-level Zerg players, it seems, because he's been winning a ton of games against the best Zerg players in the world. Yeah. Not here. Anyways, different build this time around here for Serral. So Serral, once again... Overlord here, trying to get a peek of the natural. Serral, once again, hiding a drone for at least a little bit. He will want to grab the natural expo. So in the end, I guess it's just, what is that? Like 16 pool into 17 hatch? Yeah, something like that. Apparently not too fond of taking the 3rd base as his first expo. At the very least when he can prevent it from happening. Anyways, Trap at this point scouts the main base. The timing of the hatchery right there should already tell him that it is going to be an early spawning pool, so you should know. It is quite important, though, to figure out what kind of timing on that pool, right? So, yeah. You don't want to go for a second gateway against the 16 pool, whereas against a... Well, maybe if you're Trap, actually, you don't want to do that against a 12 pool either. I know a lot of Protoss players are very fond of going for the double pool, or sorry, the double gateway start against a 12 pool. But, I guess he saw the timing of the hatch there, too, so he knows it's not going to be a... not going to be a 12 spawning pool. Nah, Trap is really good at that early game defense. I remember watching him defend a 12 pool on a map called Submarine. So that was about, I think about a half year or so ago. When 12 pool became really popular. And Trap defended that 12 pool with like 4 probes and 1 zealot. And eventually the adept came out and everyone was like, what? How? Did he just, you know, on this map with the shortest rush distance ever, did he just defend that easy peasy? Trap was like, yeah, let me show you how to not lose anything. It seemed like almost that game. He's gonna get, okay, he's gonna make a full wall off. It almost felt like that game in particular was the main reason why players stopped going for the 12 pool. Because, yeah, Trap just showed that you can defend it with a single gateway and then just 4 probes, assuming you micro it really, really well. Twilight Council here, as an opener instead. Not a Stargate opener. It's most important, I guess. So Twilight, generally speaking, leads to 2 different kinds of timing attacks for Protoss. Usually it's either going to be Glaive Adepts or it's going to be Dark Templar into Archon drops. I personally really like the Dark Templar into Archon drops. I think it's really good. Although the Glaives definitely seem to be a little bit more popular. There's the Robo facility as well. So you can go into a couple of Dark Templar to try and catch your opponent off guard. I think it's a really good ladder build in particular right now in the current meta. Because, you know, so many people are playing Stargates. Zerg doesn't have as much practice against it. Anyways, you can hit a killer timing attack with 3 to 4 Dark Templar, and then morph them into Archons, and then you can start juggling them and, you know, deal some damage on the other side of the map. The problem is with these sort of starts, okay, it's actually going to be charge. The problem is with these sort of openers, you kind of need to deal some sort of damage. You can't really pull this sort of thing off very easily. Anyways, Serral. Not entirely sure what he scouted. But, these Zerglings and the way he's patrolling them around definitely indicate that he's waiting for a prism to go to the other side of the map. Plus, he started up a 3.5-minute Roach Warren. Maybe he saw the timing right there of the cybernetics core research or something along those lines. But Serral has already determined that it is going to be... I'm trying to figure out exactly what he saw. Serral's already determined that it is going to be a Twilight opener or a Robo opener. At least judging by the timing right there of the Roach Warren. He's droned up to 40 workers. Not really any drones over at the... yeah, he's even going to go for a Spore right now as well, in case it would be Dark Templar. So, there was a probe heading on over towards the low ground there, trying to fake out a third Nexus. This Overlord over here is going to scout every single one of those gateways. I don't think the Stalker over there can really kill this, but... or not in time at the very least. Spine Crawlers? Do we go for any spines? Nah. Just Spore Crawlers. So this is a very all-in type of build though. So Trap needs to deal some sort of damage. I mean, at this point the charge has been spotted, so Serral knows exactly what he's going up against. Spore Crawler moving forward as well. Those Ravagers are super nice, by the way. It takes 3 Corrosive Balls for the Ravagers to... oh god, he actually committed right there with the... I don't like this. It takes 3 Corrosive Balls to kill the Prism. I think that these Adepts will not live to tell the tale. And once again, like... Serral doesn't die to stupid stuff, man. He just doesn't. He's obviously been studying this matchup a lot. Probably specifically Trap. Like, yeah, if he does this, he's gonna follow it up with that. I'll need to start up a Roach Warren at this timing instead. So the Zerglings right now confirm as well that there is no third Nexus. You might want to check the 6 o'clock, or I guess, no, not the 6 o'clock, the 9 o'clock position. A little bit further down south, but Trap effectively has now once again put himself on 2 bases. That being said, this is a very different game right now, right? So Serral is sitting only at 40 workers here. He's only going for a lair right now, and the Robo Bay is already coming up. So even though Trap didn't really deal a lot of damage, he also is going up against a Zerg opponent right now that is effectively on 2 bases, right? It's not like Serral really has that much. The fact, though, that he hasn't seen... yeah, okay, he sees the Immortal right now as well. The fact, though, that he hasn't seen that his opponent has gone for a 3rd base, I guess is now also making him just constantly add on more roaches. So there's a Spine Crawler out here. Spore Crawler apparently also moving around a little bit. Guess that Spore was in the main base. Roaches actually coming in. Ooh, actually, Zealots coming in from both sides. Roaches get sandwiched right here between those Zealot walls. Immortal, though, gets poked right there by the... by the Spine Crawler. Yeah, the main key is starting units up at the right time. So even though that was about as good an engagement as Trap could hope for... yeah, the main key is starting up units at the correct time. If you over-drone, that's when you lose these type of games. Serral at this point, 90 supply versus 54 for the opponent. There is a Disruptor coming up. So Trap obviously can still work some of his magic over there, but... it's starting to cringe a little bit, right? It's a little bit painful. Immortal can obviously be juggled as well to try and get some additional value. Serral only adding on a couple of workers, so he's sitting at 44, but really mostly just adding on roaches here. So he really hasn't been doing that much, yeah, that much droning in general. Okay, so without roach speed, I don't really see exactly what you're gonna do against Disruptors. So real quick, Disruptors have a skill called Purification Nova. It's on a cooldown, it deals a ton of damage when it connects with the opposing unit. However, when the ball is channeling, the unit itself is gonna be in stasis. So the unit itself cannot be moved around. However, if the unit takes damage and gets killed while the Purification Nova is channeling, the Purification Nova gets cancelled. So that's what I'm talking about. That little ball over there, if the Disruptor gets killed while it's shooting that ball, yeah, it won't get much done. Bailing Nest is a follow-up. +1 missile is a follow-up. Serral basically trying to bleed his opponent out on 2 bases again, it seems. Disruptors, though, are inside of the plane over there, so you gotta be careful. There's a 3rd Disruptor over there, too. One good hit right here on these Roaches and Ravagers can be game over. Prism also does have the Speedy Boy upgrade right now. Ooh, that was way too ambitious right there for Trap. Serral was ready to snipe that one down. Trap also waiting right there for the Zerg player once again to go up on the ramp. Couple of Adepts over here in the Natural Expo trying to get some work done. Disruptor right there not connecting to anything. The wall is wide open, although there's a Disruptor over there in the Natural Expo too. Serral trying to just dodge as many of these as he can. Can he dodge this one too? He can. And this is while defending at home. Looks like the Adepts over here have been cleaned up. Oh god. Maybe he's overstaying his welcome a little bit right... No, Disruptor there gets killed too. A couple of roaches apparently have made their way on over towards the third nexus. Serral dodging those balls so well, man. That's insane. And now a couple of reinforcing roaches. I think these are the same ones that cleaned up the adepts in the Natural Expo. They're probably on a different hotkey group. Yeah, they just killed the nexus, effectively making this a second wave of an all-in. The problem is that at the 10-minute mark, the main base is gonna start running dangerously low on minerals and gas, meaning that Protoss is getting very all-in. Now that was the best connection. Prism once again has to fly away. Yeah, no third nexus anymore as a follow-up either, so Trap effectively now putting all of his eggs in one basket, trying his very best to finish the game with the army that he's got, but Serral just does... Yeah, so what do you do against Disruptors if you're struggling against Disruptors as a Zerg? Just dodge. Okay, now that's something. Yeah. That was 3 workers, really? I thought there was supposed to be a 1 in front of that 3. Alright, yeah, okay, here's one. Here's once again attempt number 2 for the third base. Disruptor. Oh, okay. A little bit overly ambitious. What you gotta keep in mind as well is that this is Korea versus Europe, meaning that these games are played on the North American server, right? So since obviously we're not doing offline events right now in StarCraft 2, great pool right there by Serral, both players are playing with about 150 ping. 180, 150. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at is that, like, against those Disruptor Purification Novas, you gotta kind of, like, predict where you're gonna be in advance. So, I can only imagine if this was an offline tournament, what those splits from Serral would look like with basically 0 ping. It's kinda nuts. Alright. Anyways, third Nexus does get acquired. And keep in mind, like, even though Serral has been making all the right moves, it's not like he's got a killer eco on the back of this. Once again, Spire comes up. +1 melee also, and Lingbane Ravager. And Roaches. Oh god. Okay. Ooh, the Ravagers though. Yeah, the Roaches and Ravagers to snipe all of the Disruptors right here at the front. Trap pushing this army too deep onto the creep, it seems. All of the big units just get killed in a matter of seconds. Okay. It's almost as if Trap set a trap for himself there, putting all those Disruptors in the front, trying to go for those very ambitious connections. Maybe he felt like he needed to deal some sort of damage, but that's a 3-0 here for Serral. And that now takes us to Beckett Industries. Serral punishing mistakes, scouting out exactly what his opponent is going for, and responding, yeah, pretty much ideally. He's added on a Spire every single game so far, which is kind of funny. I haven't really seen players go Spire that much, especially against, well, for example, a double Stargate opener. I mean, the chances of your opponent just having units out to kill those mutas in time is very high, but apparently Serral's like, no, this is the way you play it. Don't go Hydras. Just make the Spire. Anyways. Lingbane, a Roach Ravager, Muta. The very basic units. It's kind of beautiful how, like, a lot of the games have come back to just, you know, the most basic units that you have. Anyways, if there is a map where 12 pool is really good, it is Beckett Industries. Because of those speed-up circles that are set up through the center of the map, you can make your way across really, really quickly. I love 12 pool on this map myself, but I guess Serral is, you know, he's a little bit better than me at this game. He's decided to once again go for the hatch into the gas geyser and then the spawning pool a little while later. Alright, Trap, can we play a normal game now, please? I guess Beckett Industries, though, is a map where a normal game is not a great idea. I mean, if you're gonna play a wild one, I guess Beckett Industries is the place to be. This is, statistically speaking, I think the worst map actually for Protoss versus Zerg. Let me actually pull up the stats real quick while we get started. So Beckett Industries for Protoss versus Zerg specifically. Yeah, Zerg has a 57.1% win rate at the professional level on this map in Protoss versus Zerg. So that's not good. That's not good at all for Trap. Obviously, with a best-of-7 series, the player to win 4 maps first is the one that will be the victor. Serral already on match point right here. This is definitely Serral's map pick. So, yeah, we'll see. The way it works in a best of sevens... What is this? Huh? Yeah, the walls are... Trap feels a little bit off. The walls here are, like... there's definitely a hole over here, and there's obviously a hole over here, too. These are the type of mistakes, man, that you just... I don't think you can make them. I really don't. Like, a 12 pool here would have been fantastic if the buildings are positioned like this. Anyways, Stargate opener once again. Pylon... No, this is not a full wall. No way. No. The Zergling just went back just to try and get out of there. Although apparently it's accepted its fate over here. Anyhow. Trap, yeah, I was gonna say, going for a very quick third pylon. He doesn't really need that. Positioning the Stargate as close to the ledge here as possible as well, just to get the units out a little bit quicker. Every second can matter. But we'll see. So what's the follow-up going to be to the Stargate? Serral, obviously. He's now taking his natural expo once again. That's his third base. This wall is so not... Okay. We need another pylon over here, my man, or another gateway or something along those lines. Anyways, this second gateway kind of already shows the Zerg player that it is going to be a Stargate, because the timing of that only really makes sense if it is going to be a Stargate start. A start gate? Haha! Sorry. Oracle follow-up. We should definitely go for a third Nexus, though. Yep. Usually 3 minutes and 40... Or, sorry, 3 minutes and 50 seconds if you really want to go for the greedy... This scares me, man! Anyways, you can get a really quick third base out, is what I'm trying to get at. Oracle once again out. Can we please make the wall off full? I can already imagine Serral running in 20 Zerglings. There's the fleet beacon coming up. Trap going for a 4-minute fleet beacon. And still no Nexus. Serral has scouted, well, that there is no Nexus, I suppose. But, I mean, not because he hasn't seen it. This is a big scout. This is a big scout. So, Serral sees the timing of this. This is what I mean, okay? So, I don't really know exactly how Serral scouts all of the things. But I can imagine that Serral right now looks at the in-game clock. He's like, okay, it's a Stargate opener. I know my opponent went for a second gateway at the appropriate time. I've seen the Void Ray. I've seen the Oracle. This third Nexus should come up at 4 minutes, right? 4 minutes and 3 seconds maybe, right? I don't know what he's thinking. But if it starts up at 4:40 or 4:30 or whatever, what in the world are we going up against? And I'm pretty sure that's how he determines what is happening. Now, anyways, it is going to be a Tempest opener. There's even, like, the fleet beacon upgrade right now, too, for the Tempest to deal additional damage to structures. I believe it doubles the damage that they deal to structures. Obviously, Tempest are, yeah, very good when it comes to picking off units from a long distance. So, usually, as soon as you see this as a Zerg, Hydras aren't a great idea, Queens aren't a great idea. You kind of have to go into a Spire. Serral, though, did start up a Roach Warren right upon scouting the third base, if I'm not mistaken, in the timing of it. He starts up additional workers right now, though, because I guess a gateway-based push should have already come out. Don't lose the Oracle. Okay, good. Double Tempest, though. Trap has been trying to outsmart his opponent for the better part of a half hour so far. And it's not really working. Serral right now sees the Tempest as well. He's already got creep spread extremely far forward, though. I mean, those Queens can basically knock on the front door of the Protoss player within about, I don't know, 10 seconds. Fourth hatchery comes up as well at the 6 o'clock position. Instantly, though, we do see that Spire to go, I guess, into Corruptors. Queens, though. Yeah, they have a lot of Queens. Oh my god, they have a lot of energy as well. They have a lot of creep to walk on. And what if the Tempest goes down to the Queens? That is not what you want. It takes 5 Tempests to one-shot a Queen. Yeah, there should be 5 out right now. But one of them just died. Okay, well, one Queen, I guess, was killed here in retaliation. But you gotta be so careful, man. Queens are not fast units, but Tempests are apparently even slower when you try and stutter step them. There's a concave of queens. Serral tried to set up a concave with the queens to maximize the fire damage. Anyways, I feel like this is the moment though, right? So while you get that first influx of Tempest out, this is the moment where they're supposed to get value. Because as soon as Zerg scouts this, once again, the speed circle, Void Ray gets killed. As soon as Zerg scouts this, they'll go for a Spire, and the Spire takes a long time to build. But Trap, I mean, he's basically wasted the entire window here, right? There was an entire timing window here where he could get work done right here with the Tempest. And right now, I mean, the Spire is going to be out. Corruptor start up immediately. Serral obviously diligently scouting as well for future bases here of the opponent. Only going for gas here. One gas, that is. At the... That's awfully specific. 9 gas apparently is what you want when you play this. He's very precise, man. I know I've been sounding like a Serral fanboy this entire series long. But this is some beautiful Zerg. Like, he adds on... Like, look, he loses 1 drone in that 9th gas geyser, and he instantly remakes 1 drone. So it's specifically, like, a perfect ratio of gas to minerals. It's so crazy. Anyways, so the 4th Nexus is acquired at the 12 o'clock, but here come the queens. Are there any disruptors this time around? Nope, it's a robo transition right now, but Trap only just now finishing, well, I guess both of them at the same time. That means no robotics bait. There's still a hole in the wall here as well. Can we just go through the hole? I think we can, but anyways. Struts down the cybernetics core here. That's the +1 weapons denied. Flux Veins, which is the speed upgrade for the Void Race, comes up as well. It's almost done. Already, though. Well, theoretically, I think this Protoss army can shut down the Zerg, kind of. I mean, that's a lot of queens. We're talking 13 queens here. The natural expansion is going to be in a world of trouble. This is also actually where the Stargate tech is, hiding in the back. So since, obviously, those Tempests, they force out those Corruptors, I guess a Void Ray follow-up makes a lot of sense. Okay, well, there's the Prismatic Alignment activated. Zerg can't really fight that very well, though. Prismatic Alignment, yeah, I guess it's slowing down those Void Rays, and then the Corrosive Biles force that to be cancelled once again, just so they can get to safety. There are a couple of Zealots now actually dealing damage to the natural expansion of the Zerg too. So that's 13 drones already going down. I think reinforcements eventually will clean this up. At the same time, though, these guys are still battling inside of the main base now of the Protoss player. A lot of the production has been shut down. A few roaches are reinforcing Queen as well. They're working on the probes over at the 3rd base. Serral, once again, within 10 minutes, doubling his opponent's supply. This is the best Protoss player in the world. Zerg players around the globe are struggling in Protoss versus Zerg. And Serral just makes his opponent look like an absolute fool. When it comes to Protoss versus Zerg, I really don't know what you do against Serral. What I do know, though, is that you shouldn't try and trick him. When you try to trick him, when you try to go for an easy, cheap win, he will probably scout you and destroy you. So there it is. Serral ended up winning the grand finals of Dreamhack Masters Fall, the season finals, 4-0 over Trap. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you made it all the way until the end, please do me a favor and hit that like button down below. That way the video may very well get picked up by the YouTube algorithm, and we might be able to even grow StarCraft 2 a little bit in 2021. That would be neat. But for now, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Don't forget to smile, and don't forget to subscribe either if you want to. And I see you once again in the next one.